Hi Ross, just gonna make a quick little Facebook video here. Check this out. I got your VCF working. I got your mixing summing amplifier working. Oscillators are still dead, but I think it's an LF353 associated with them. Those are bad about failing. Same thing on the Prodigy too. Very similar problems I see on Prodigies. But as you can hear your filter, so I can just one-handed. You can hear that filter screams. Noise source works. So that's working, but like I say, your oscillators are dead. I just want to make a quick little video for Facebook here. But you had a bad 3046 in your ladder filter. Of course, you can see what I was talking about, where somebody's already gone through this thing. You can see all these little notes where they wrote on the board, and even got some of the part numbers wrong. Like that's a 3080, which they had wrote some weird number. Anyways, just thought I'd make a quick little video here. Another update here for you. Got your oscillators working. Turn the string section. Anyways, you can hear everything's working there. The only thing I like now is your sliders are a little dirty, so I'm going to actually desolder them, pull them out, clean them real good. And or I might just try to shoot some grease to save you some labor, because there's going to be a lot of labor involved on that. I'm going to try to clean up these sliders real good for you and get that working right. But as you can hear, things are coming along good. I got everything working like it's supposed to. Found a few more little issues as I was going through it. You had a bad 4007, which actually shorted on me while I was working. It actually just shorted out from VCC, and I started losing power to everything, and it was actually reading 800. Actually, it was reading 250 ohms on the 12 volt line. So pulled that chip out, replaced him with a nice socket as well, because those are pretty reliable, but they do fail from time to time. So fix that up, and so we're getting close to having this thing done. But I just want to make a quick little video here and show it off again. Take care. I'm just going to make a quick little video here of your complete MG-1. Basically, I went through it, as you know from the other messages and stuff I've sent you. I went through it, rechipped things, and got this thing working correct. But basically, what we have here, for anybody else that's interested, don't know much about the MG-1. This is actually a Moog synthesizer, even though it's made by Realistic. It's not really made by Realistic, it's made by Moog Music, but it was under contract from Moog Music. And these things were actually built, calibrated, and everything at the Moog factory. So they are, in my term, a Moog synthesizer. Actually, I got a funny story about these, because I'm friends with some of the guys that worked at Moog Music. And they actually used to have races to see who could calibrate these things the fastest. They had like a whole bunch of orders of them, and basically they'd build them, calibrate them, troubleshoot, put them on the truck, and then they'd be delivered to Tandy stores or Radio Shack. And that's basically the story behind the MG-1. But anyways, back to this one, Ross. I've got it all calibrated, everything's working, and I just want to give you a quick overview here. I got it all cleaned up for you, as you can see, and I tried to make it look as good as I could. It's missing the knobs and sliders, which I know you had talked about putting some on it yourself, just to save some of the budget that we're in. But I'll walk you around back here. I'll show you the back panel here. You can see I added the actual TRS jacks, 1/4 inch, for your audio left and right, which of course is not really true left and right audio, but you know, it works. Sometimes I like to have a stereo jack anyways. It's all cleaned up on the back. This is actually serial number 12,359. So it's got a big serial number there. But as you remember, this thing was in parts when I got it, so big difference. Huge difference. But I'll open it up here. I don't have it bolted together because I want to show you the inside right here. And for anybody else that's interested, I'll kind of go through how this thing works exactly. Basically, we started out when this thing came in, it was missing a winding of the transformer. It had a leg that had broke off the transformer winding. So what I did is I found it and I tested to make sure it hadn't lost a winding or anything, and would cause a voltage issue. And the voltage is still at right. So what I did is I soldered a wire on, and then I put this heavy compound on it to keep it in place so it doesn't tear off. And then I rerouted your wiring. But what happened is, I think initially with this synth, and somebody ran it with only half the secondary running. And basically this is a dual secondary transformer. And so what happened is when you ran it with half the transformer, you didn't get the whole rectification and the whole voltages. So you starved a lot of circuitry, and I think that's really what happened. Anyways, as you can see, I recapped everything. You have brand new capacitors everywhere. I put in some good quality caps. And basically, this is a little interesting board right here. This is actually the polyphonic section. And it's interesting because they actually use the same chips you find in Polymoogs, which is the 55283N divider chip. And but don't let that fool you, because this is not a Polymoog. It uses a whole different concept of oscillator, which basically all the oscillator is a phase lock loop, and it's just driving a top octave chip, and then it's driving your frequency. That's really all it is. Very simple, very basic, and just a square wave is all you get. But it works really nice when you're playing it with the actual mono section. But as you can see, right here is where I did all your work for your jacks. I put in a little capacitor resistor network there. Got that fixed up. And so basically just got everything cleaned up. Now this spot here that we thought was actually a burnt area on the board, what I found out what happened is it wasn't a component that burnt. It was actually somebody that didn't know how to solder. And they had tried to remove a chip and replace it, and they just overheated the board right there. But they didn't hurt anything. I cleaned up your tracings and reflowed the solder after I placed that part that they had overheated. And so all that's fixed. But yeah, that's just an overview of the inside there. And that's basically how this thing kind of works here. And then all this up here is actually the synthesizer, your oscillators, your VCF, and all that good stuff on this top side of the board. But anyways, I'll just give you a quick little demo here to show you how it sounds here, Ross. I'm really happy with it. I think you'll be very happy with it. And I was able to stick within your budget, so I think it's going to be a great little synth for you. Let me get this set up here. Let's see. Let me adjust my camera just a hair. I don't use this tripod very often. I think that'll work maybe. We'll just leave it like that. But anyways, as you can hear, this is your poly section. As you can hear, just basic. All notes work. Oscillator 1. We'll turn that back on. Basically, you got square wave and sawtooth. That's oscillator 1. Oscillator 2. You got a sawtooth and you got a pulse wave for this one. We combine those. Put some glide. Something like that. But what I like to do is I like to combine it with the poly section. You get stuff like this. used to, because it's basically priority is the highest note. So if you don't structure your hand right, it doesn't work exactly like you want it to. Add some modulation to your oscillators. I like to just go up an octave, and actually I can offset the octaves by this right here. So I can go. So where it'll be continuous, or contoured, which means it's going to now look at this. You can make it where it's out, which means when it's output, basically as long as you hold in a note, it's going to decay based off your envelope generator. So you get something like that right there. If you do input, the whole T off a note. This is similar to what's on the micro Moog, a controller on the micro Moog for your envelope generators. So right now if I let it off, and then you got a continuous, which means it'll just stay triggered. Like that. Something like that. And then you got your voltage control filter. What I like to do here is I like to sometimes get a real slow rate. That right there. Then you got your sawtooth together. It's actually, it sounds a lot like an ARP to me because it's got this what they call hard lag. I call it lazy glide really because it sounds kind of lazy. And here's just your mono synth by itself. We'll go here, do this. And you control the. As you can hear, you got different waveforms. I'll use it for the filter. Now sample and hold. You got Something like that right there. But basically, it's just an overview of your little MG-1. And in comparison, I actually got a Rogue over here, and I'll just kind of show you the comparison between a Rogue and the MG-1. Let me grab it over here real quick. And this is actually one that I've had for a while that I've got to finish working on. I actually added a mod to this one. I've got some of the other parts to it over here. Let me go over here and I'll grab the camera and show you this. Get this off the tripod there. Yeah, so what we got here, so we got the MG-1 and then we got the Rogue. And as you can see, there's a lot of similarities between the chassis. Same number of keys, basically same key bed, same chassis really, just different cutouts and different control functions. The biggest difference you're going to notice between the two is that you got a pitch and mod wheel on the Rogue, which is kind of nice because it's something that this doesn't have, which you could probably mod and make some. The thing is with the MG-1, you can mod a lot. There's so many modifications you can do to them. But actually the thing is I love more about the MG-1 than I do the Rogue is if you notice for your octaves you've actually got two switches for each oscillator, where if you look at the Rogue they're combined. So when you select this, it's going to actually select both oscillators, which is kind of a limitation big time because you can't set your octaves to a certain amount. Now you do have a lower range on this one, and then they're equal pretty much for the most part. And you got an octave detune, which you have the same thing right here with the slider. So really this has got kind of the same function here, but the switches are different. Basically same waveform, sawtooth, square with a pulse on the oscillator 2. Envelope generator is pretty much the same thing. Got a very similar layout. The filter is a little different because Moog actually used their ladder filter, if I'm not mistaken. Where this one has their ladder filter, but it's a little different design than what I'm used to seeing. It's got a different kind of balancing circuit, and I'm not sure if they use the same in this one or not. I have to look see. The other difference is you'll notice that the poly section's gone on this one. There is no poly section. You basically just got oscillator 1 and 2 and noise. That's really the three things you can combine on this one. Glide circuit's the same. It sounds very similar to this. The other big kind of drawback that a lot of people don't like is that this one doesn't have an internal transformer, which means you have to plug in a big AC adapter and then plug it into here. And basically it puts in 24 volts AC, and it's got all the rectification and filtering in here, and then your regulators. So really overall they're both basically the same thing. You just actually get a little more with the MG-1, believe it or not. But that actually brings up another funny story about the Rogue, which that's why it's called the Rogue. Radio Shack and Tandy and Moog teamed up and contracted out this synth. Well, Norlin at the time said, well, it's going to make 25,000 extra side panels. So they made 25,000 extra side panels and they made the Rogue. So they already kind of had this thing in mind when they were actually signed a contract with Realistic, or with Tandy. So it's got some interesting stories there. And really, if you look at the back panel, I think the Rogue has a little more going on, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you got your trigger in and out, keyboard in and out, and your audio in, and it actually has a true audio input where it's running through the filters and everything. And then your audio out, where this one has pitch and trigger, so you can actually trigger and control pitch of this one with a CV source, and which is kind of a nice thing even for the Realistic. So basically it has very similar stuff to this. It's been a while since I've looked at the back of this one, but yeah, that's pretty much the difference between the Realistic and Moog. You'll see that they're very similar. But anyways, I just want to make a quick little video here and show this off for you, Ross, and just kind of show you some differences here between the Realistic and Rogue as well for anybody that's interested. And anyways, I'm going to work on putting this one all back together, put the screws back in it, and get it ready to go out to you. But anyways, I really appreciate you letting me work on your MG-1, and hope it'll be a good little synth for you for years to come. Take care.